wacky, but it is Wednesday and we're Why Wait for Recovery, and we're certainly glad that everybody's here.
And my name is Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I am that emotional eater, that compulsive overeater. I'm a binger, I'm a poacher, I'm a food addict and a drug addict.
I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic. It sounded like you were going to sing a song.
I felt like I almost did. If I had a tune, I would have broken out singing.
Something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a different meaning. Anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about just spitting it out. You know? Just putting it out there, about not holding back the stuff that we do hold back. I'm going to actually, Allie, I'm going to call you out a little bit again tonight because you always have so many great things to say, and you shared something at our meeting on Sunday that I wanted to touch back on. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And do we have anything to add before we start?
Yes,
Should we say hi to everybody?
Yeah,
hi,
actually,
everybody in recovery land.
Hi. So people are joining us live on Facebook and on YouTube, and people have subscribed to our channel on YouTube as well, so they get notified as soon as we start running. If you want to step into the rooms, it really helps if you can talk and we can hear you. You can do that via Zoom, and you have time to do that now, so hop onto Zoom. Also, we really ask you guys to share the message because this is what we do. We are in service.
We are in service. We're addicts in service, which helps to keep us clean, by the way, you guys.
Exactly. So we're just reaching out to other addicts, and it helps us stay in recovery. So share us, and please jump into our room.
And let's go this way because I'm going to do Allison last because she said the best thing last time, so it has to be best for last. So hi,
we're going to
guys.
check in.
Hi. Hi, let's go to D first. How are you? Unmute yourself, please.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, good. I'm doing really well. I found a local group, a 12-step group.
Good.
At Food Addicts Anonymous.
Very good.
I have a sponsor.
Very good.
So I'm on the road. I did, I was feeling hopeful. I was abstinent for 4 days, and then I started feeling really sad, and I sat through my feelings. I'm becoming very aware of the trigger feeling, the feeling that triggers me, that make me binge. I sat through the feeling for a long time. I couldn't take it anymore, and I went and I binged.
Okay, and so when you were feeling like that, who did you reach out to in the community?
Well, I didn't, it was the day before.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the question again. When you were feeling like that, did you reach out to anyone in the community? Yes or no? No. And so, okay. And so that's one of the things that you will learn that's really going to help you. So you do have a sponsor now, and you are connected with Why Wait for Recovery, right? And so what we do is we don't reach out actually because we really want to use. Because I know if I want to use and I reach out to somebody in the community, they're going to talk me off the ledge. So remember, next time you're not feeling okay, you're feeling sad, or you're feeling scared, or you're feeling whatever, that's time for you to reach out.
And just, let's say if my sponsor's not available, I just reach out, or if I just want to reach out to this community anyway.
Of course.
I just post something on the Why Wait.
It's going to make it a lot less, and it makes it real, and it makes you honest, and it's real helpful, especially in the beginning. Well, I think it's helpful all the time, but for sure in the beginning.
So the topic tonight was really spit it out. So this really is so in line with what we're talking about. We have the Downsizing Weight Loss, which is on Facebook as a private group. Everyone on that group is in recovery. So it is the best place to reach out and say, I'm struggling, I need help, I need feedback. Whatever it is, post there and someone will definitely respond.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for telling us the truth. Because if you didn't tell us the truth, the only person, of course, the person you lie to the most when we don't tell the truth is ourselves. But thank you for sharing the truth. And so what you're going through and you're feeling right now is what lots of us go through, lots of us feel, and what lots of us do, especially very early when we're trying to get it and we're trying to get the abstinence thing. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate you for that. Thank you.
And I actually love that you brought this up about talking about it. So I'm really encouraging everyone, especially my friend out there who I see just joined us, jump onto Zoom so we can actually hear your voice.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Jess, what's up, girl?
Hey.
Hi.
So I got a new sponsor.
Okay,
I
good.
ended up fired my other one.
Okay.
And getting a new one, so I'm excited about that. And we kind of set out right from the start, like what I want from the experience and her expectations as well. So
Okay.
that way we know.
Okay, and so what you want from the experience is what?
I'm sorry?
What do you want from your experience with your sponsor?
Well,
10 seconds.
I'm sorry?
In 10 seconds, what do you want from your
Okay.
experience with your sponsor?
I want to be able to contact her, like, just by text, if I want to, because sometimes I share easier by text.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, to help me work through the steps.
Okay. And so ultimately, your ultimate goal, I would imagine, is to be happy, joyous, and free, right?
Yes.
And you know that. How much time does your sponsor have?
I don't know that answer.
Okay. So you know that she's had different experiences, right? And you also know that sometimes you're going to hear something that you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be hard. And I'm going to tell you, if Angeli fired me every time it was hard, I've been her sponsor for 8 months, 9 months, I would have been her sponsor for 8 minutes. No, Ange, am I telling the truth?
I'm okay with hearing difficult things and different feedback, but I don't think our personalities match.
Oh, no, that's cool. I'm just saying, keep an open mind, baby, okay?
Yeah, I
Keep
will.
an open mind. And when you're not sure about something, reach out to somebody else in the community. And don't reach out to somebody that's going to, play into your BS, but reach out to somebody whose opinion you respect, who you know might not just side with you. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, good girl. So I'm really glad for you.
Thanks.
So thanks, Jess. It's really good to see you tonight.
You too.
Miss Karen, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I don't have a sponsor yet. I'm still working on that.
Okay.
But I was sharing with Jess and Angeli that I'm off of my anxiety and depression medication after many, many years, and I'm excited about that. I think it's time, and so I'm really pumped about it.
Did you have a doctor wean you off your medication?
Absolutely, yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah. So
instructions to the letter, and so
very
today was
good.
my first day without it.
Very good. And so, sometimes as addicts, you guys will get like 30 seconds of clean time, and then we decide that we can manage our own lives, which is what got us sick in the first place. So make sure anytime you're doing anything that has to do with anything medical, that you're reaching out to your psychiatrist, your psychologist, or your medical doctor, that they're hand in hand with you, helping you do that. So good for you, Karen.
Yes, and they are all on board. So,
Awesome.
I've got their support.
Awesome. Good for you. It's really good to see you tonight.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sarah? Oh, you have to unmute yourself, please. You're muted. Sarah, I gotta push unmute on your... Oh, there you go.
How are you?
How are you?
Good. I apologize for being late.
That's okay. You don't have to. What's up?
Until 7 p.m. tonight.
I'm sorry?
I ate something I should not have at 7 p.m.
Okay. All right. How do you feel about it?
You know what? I very consciously did it. It was something that I didn't have in a while. That is definitely not on my.
Okay. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about how you feel about it.
I think what caused it. There is no.
I don't want to know what caused it. I want to know, now that you've done it, tell me how you're feeling about it. So I relapsed, or I slipped. You haven't relapsed because we have to have recovery time to relapse.
Right.
But you went ahead and you picked up. How do you feel about the fact that you picked up?
Very disappointed.
Okay. So remember, we have a certain feeling that makes us want to use. So let's say I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling scared, and I feel like using because that's what I'm used to, right? And I use, now I get to feel sad and scared and like crap about myself because I used. So
Right.
every time we use because of a certain negative feeling, we stay with the negative feeling, and then we pick up a frying pan and slap ourselves over the head with it. So I want you to think about that. Okay? Thank you so much for sharing, because that was super honest, and you're kind of new here, and so that was very, very cool that you did. And
In the
remember,
morning, it's interesting, this morning I felt, as I was getting ready to go to work and getting dressed, and I start my day with Good Morning America, which is never good because the news is so stressful.
Okay.
But I felt that my brain was so busy, so rushing with thoughts, that I stopped and I told myself, I said, can you just slow down a little bit?
Okay.
It
And that
was like a hyper brain.
Okay. And so we all have hyper brains when we're in active addiction. That's part of being an active addiction. We have all of those racing thoughts and so many things going on because we're paying attention to everything else except for what it is that we need to do to think about how we're feeling, what we're thinking, and how to get better. And so at the end of those days, of course, we're going to use. So for you, because you knew, I know that you're interested in doing a lot of listening and learning. And so that's what you'll do, is listen and learn from others who are on this journey. And of course, you'll do your best to do your best. Get yourself into some 12-step program, and you'll do better.
So I love some of the topics that came up from people checking in, because being in recovery takes different aspects in the program. Some of it, one of the things was sponsorship. You know, when we're in recovery, to be able to stay in recovery, we need certain tools in our toolbox to be able to rely on, so we're able to stay in recovery. And that community, and having a community, being able to either have meditation or something that takes us out of that way of thinking, that we can shift how we're thinking. So they're all different tools, and you guys have already mentioned 3 of them that we can put into our toolbox.
Okay? So good job, you. Good job, everybody. Miss Ange, hi. I know you're busy. How are you?
Good.
Good. How's your day going?
Good.
Good. You have any little pearls you want to share with us today about recovery? Anything that you'd like to say?
No, when you're talking to Jess about, I stepped out for a little bit, so I heard part of the conversation, but I just, like, it resonated with me when you said if we disagreed or we had different views on stuff, and I decided I didn't want you to be my sponsor. Yeah, I wouldn't have a sponsor. Like yesterday, you know, I've been going through some stuff this week, and yesterday I met with you and I cried in your bed for I don't know how long.
And you were angry with me because I wouldn't say what it is that you wanted me to say.
Yeah.
And Angela is pretty clear about how she's feeling. So she's like, I'm talking to you right now, and you're not giving me the feedback that I want. And my stock answer is always, I don't care. Which also makes her crazy. Which doesn't mean I don't care about you.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're mad at me isn't going to change the way that I feel about you. And nor am I codependent, so I'm not going to go ahead and play into whatever's going on with you because it ain't my thing. Right? My thing is to be honest and open and teach you as best as I can.
Right, and that sometimes is hard to hear, and I can imagine that can't only be for me as addicts. It's hard because you want people to buy into what you're thinking and feeling, because it makes you feel like you're worth something, or what you're saying is valid, or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, I just related to when you were talking to Jess, and I wanted to say that.
I love that you bring up this codependency, because I was talking to a friend today, and we were saying, you know, some of us reach a stage where you've got husbands, you've got kids, you've got parents living in your home, and you've got all this chaotic stuff going on, and go-to default has always been picking up and using, or finding excuses to use, because that's how we've always coped with things in the past. But it reaches a stage where it really hurts us so much that we can't keep doing those same things. I mean, we can keep doing the same things, but reaches a stage that you keep getting the same results no matter what that looks like, and we keep going down the same road, and we still end up feeling guilty, ashamed, and demoralized through that whole process. And it reaches a stage where some of us go, we don't want to do this anymore. There has to be something different. And it's being able to shift. I think recovery for me has been able to shift that codependency. If my husband's having a bad day, or the kids are having a bad day, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that I have to have a bad day because they are. I've got certain choices. I can choose. Recovery gives me the ability to choose to have a happy day if I want to, or whatever. I can choose to be loving, compassionate, or whatever that looks like, no matter what that is going on around me. And if my program is strong and I'm working my program on recovery, I'm less likely to pick up or find an excuse to pick up, so that I can deal with that chaos, or the chaos that I create around me, or that I step into around me, because it really is a dance, you know.
It is. And I have to say that, and so even when we get to the point where we're not going to pick up, right? So we're talking about codependency. So you have some clean time and your husband comes home and he's upset, he's in a bad mood, and you're not going to pick up because you haven't picked up, you're not going to pick up. And so now we start working on our character defects, right? And we start working on how we feel when certain things happen, so that we don't do whatever those actions are, like you said, oh, I'll get mad at the kids or whatever like that. But also to understand that I don't need to take it personally. That if I'm in a relationship and somebody walks in the door and they're pissed off, I have a choice. I could take it personally and say, I can't believe he came home like that and he doesn't even care about me. And, you know, I've been with the kids all day and I'm working too, and, you know, and he's so selfish. Or I can say, wow, he must have had a really bad day and I hope he's feeling better. Right? And so once we get beyond the I'm going to pick up, it gives us a chance to work on our own character defects. That character defects of dependency or codependency, right? And of me changing my mood and taking it personally because you didn't smile at me today. Taking it personally because, you know, you asked me, instead of you saying, Felice, hun, do you want some tea? You said, what kind of tea do you want? You know what I mean? Like those things that we take personally that have nothing to do with us.
So those are things, when we say character defects, if you haven't been in the recovery rooms, those are really things that are challenges in our world that show us our part in whatever that play is or that situation
Correct.
is. And it makes us look at our responsibility or our ability or our challenges in that situation. So if our goal is to be loving, considerate, compassionate, and all of a sudden we have this going on and this person isn't responding in the way that we want them to respond, and then we become angry or short and we turn into that person we didn't want to become.
And so we go back to that fantasy that I actually have control over how you feel, which is a crazy. I have control over how I feel. No matter how I act and what I do, you are going to present the way that you present. I'm going to present the way that I present. If you're in a bad mood, it's not up to me to change it. I can be kind and compassionate and caring and understanding. But if I act better or I look better or I feel better or I say better, or no matter what I do, your mood is yours. It ain't mine.
Or you jump into a bad mood as well.
Well, that's, ugh.
Exactly.
That's just stupid. And we all do that.
No, so then at the end of the day, how does that look? We haven't achieved anything. We're both pissed off. We're both irritable. And I've got the perfect excuse to pick up and use.
And who has been kind, compassionate, and caring in that scenario? A nobody. Right? So I am responsible for my own feelings and my own thoughts. And it stops there. I am not responsible for last night. I was responsible to tell Angeli the truth, let her know how I felt, but I wasn't responsible for how she received it or how she felt about what I was saying. That I'm not responsible for, as long as I'm doing my best to do my best. As long as I am doing my best to do my best. Ooh, she's making faces right now. You have something to say?
No.
What? Say.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. All right. How are you, Sarah?
Every time I speak, I get so nervous.
That's
I just
okay.
don't, speak, but I'm just really relating to it. Besides the food, besides all that stuff, I am able to identify that more and more lately. I can realize that I continue to let things from the past, from yesterday, I let it boil inside of me. I get angry about it. Like, I have all these different moods constantly because I'm letting certain things keep affecting me because I can't let go of them.
Okay, so right now I haven't learned how to let go of them yet.
Right.
So don't say that you can't, because if you say you can't, then you can't.
Right.
So right now, you do come to workshop, right? And you do come to meetings. So you are doing your best to learn.
Yes.
Yes. You guys, when we have a whole lot of crazies, it's real good to see a therapist. I believe in therapy, so I'm going to say that because I've had therapists save my life before. So I don't have any challenge with saying that. So sometimes when we've got a lot of stuff, especially from our past and stuff that we need to work through, sometimes it's helpful, especially in the beginning. Because for me as a sponsor, you get 15 seconds worth of your challenge, and then we could talk about the solution. And sometimes there's stuff that you need more than 15 seconds to talk about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So what you do is you replay the same thing over again. And so you live in what if or if only. And what that does is you miss the movie, right? So you've missed everything that's happened for the second because you're so stuck in fear because you can't change what happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so if we think that through, we know that that's nuts, right? It's a place that we've all been. We know that it's crazy. Do we wake up one morning and say, gee, that's crazy, I think that I'll stop doing that? No. But we do learn as we're walking through our steps, as we're looking at our own part of it, of what our part of in our own lives and our own feelings and our own emotions, and we stop blaming somebody else for how we feel, and we stop blaming things of the past, because you know guys, we don't forgive. I don't forgive if I'm angry with you, Haiti. I don't forgive you because it's good for you, because you'll never know if I forgive you or not. But I forgive you because it's good for me, because it lets that love in, right? So when I'm carrying anger or resentment or something that's happened and I keep that with me, that's all it does, is it doesn't let the sunlight in, man. Right?
So I just find that so pertinent to what I was talking to a friend about today. So her husband's been working excessively. He's traveling a lot. He's not at home. She's dealing with the kids. And the scenario is, so she's holding certain resentment. So she goes through the day and she's resentful in the morning. She's resentful at noon. She's resentful at 2 o'clock, and she's resentful at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And she's been angry and her day has been off. And the focus of her day for most of the day has been on that anger and resentment, instead of what a beautiful sunset, how delicious lunch was, of a friend that called her, of all the other things that could have happened in the day. So when we talk about missing the movie, it's that when your mind, remember the old records that we used to get that had the needle and it would get stuck in that groove, and that's all that would be playing the whole time, is that constant groove. It's being able to get it out of that groove and let it go, so that we're able to see the other things that are going on around us, because when we get stuck, we kind of get stuck. And I love what you're saying about seeing a therapist as well. Mm-hmm. Everyone's toolbox looks different. Recovery looks different to everyone. I need a therapist. I use a therapist. I go to meetings. I have a sponsor. So we all have different tools that we're able to utilize to help us get better as well.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, is it okay if I share an example?
Of course.
Sure.
Of course.
Well, this is not the past or anything like that.
Okay, go ahead.
More recent, on Thanksgiving. So we go to my husband's mother's house, my mother-in-law, and I always get nervous around her because she's a tough woman and she causes issues. So as we're, gonna leave, I don't know why, my daughter gets in some kind of mood and she's just acting kind of crazy.
She's a baby.
Exactly.
She's acting like a baby.
So
it's okay. We're gonna excuse her for a baby acting like a baby.
But that was my point. Instead of anyone helping or just assisting, all of a sudden all this judging and, oh, you need to fix her, and oh, she needs behavioral therapy, oh this, oh, and here I am, my daughter's acting crazy and my anxiety is high as heck, my hands are shaking, I'm nervous, she's driving me crazy, and I kept trying to say, she's only 3, what would you like, I'm trying to say she's only 3, and then she kept mocking me for that.
Okay, so remember, I am who I am. If I'm mean, I mean.
She's mean.
Okay, so if I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with you. If I'm disrespectful, I'm disrespectful. It doesn't have anything to do with you. So it behooves you to look at me at that point and say, wow, Felice is an asshole. And you know what? I'm going to take everything that she says with a grain of salt, and then I'm going to let it go, because it's not about me, it's about her. It's not about you or your child. When I see kids having temper tantrums in the mall, I think, oh my God, how fortunate are they that when they're in a bad mood, they get to just lay down on the floor and scream and kick and carry on. Wouldn't you love to do that? Right? Every once in a while, wouldn't you love to do that?
So you mean we can't duct tape them and hog tie them and throw them in a box?
So that's just their perspective, right? And our perspective was, as soon as you said it, was, oh, she's a baby, so she's acting like a baby. So who cares? But you take it personally.
I did. I really took it personally.
So you're taking it personally that an asshole is being mean to you.
Because she didn't let me speak.
Listen, it doesn't matter. Listen to me. It doesn't matter why.
Right.
If she's kind and caring and compassionate, she would have said, hey, you know what? Your kid's being a little crazy now. Maybe she needs to go home and take a nap. Love you, bye. Right? That's how somebody nice acts, right? She's not nice. Okay, why do you have to take it personally that she's not nice? It doesn't have anything to do with you. And so in recovery, that's one of the things that we learn is what does have to do with us, which I hope is what you do, and I'm sure it is, that you show up and do your best to do your best.
I try.
Okay, so you do, though. You don't try. We see how you show up, so don't say that you try, because you do. You do your best to do your best, right? Okay, and so she's whatever she is, but that's not about you, so you don't need to take that personally. That's about her.
And I went off on cliff, and I'm cursing.
Okay, but all of that
myself.
wouldn't happen if you didn't
take
take it personally.
I got mad at him.
So remember, right, but now we perpetuate the crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And remember, we take things personally, you guys, when we believe it. Only when we believe it. So if somebody came over to you and said, I can't believe that your daughter is 6'3", you would look at them and say, oh my God, like maybe they're drunk, right? Because you know for a fact your daughter isn't 6'3", right? And they came over and they said, I can't believe your daughter's 6'3" and she's so tall and she's only 3 years old and that's so amazing, and have this whole conversation. You would think, wow, like they're messed up, right? Something wrong. Maybe you should call 911. But when somebody comes over and says there's something wrong with your child, which means that you're a bad mom and you're a bad person and you don't do the right thing, you take it personally because there's some part of that that you believe. Otherwise, you would be saying, that person must be drunk. They don't know what they're talking about. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And that's a big part of not taking it personally, not getting, because she's probably just moved on with it. Me, I was lagging.
Of course she has.
Like, going crazy.
Of course
like
she has.
Kitty.
And you're still carrying it.
I am. Because
you do your gratitude list every night?
Yeah, I try to.
Do you do your gratitude list every night?
I don't do it every night.
Why? Why? Tell me why.
I don't want to make excuse for it.
So don't. Tell me why you don't do your gratitude list every night.
Because I have a struggle. I'm struggling to juggle everything in my life.
Okay, it takes a couple of minutes. It doesn't have to be eloquent. You're saying, when you do that gratitude list, you guys, really simple thing, 3 things we're grateful for and our strength for the day. When you're fighting against that, you're showing yourself that you're not willing. Stop showing yourself that you're not willing. Okay? Start showing yourself that you are willing to make a teeny tiny change. And I'm going to tell you, when you're doing your gratitude list, you're not thinking about how somebody else is mean. You're thinking about the great things that happened today. My daughter drew me a picture. The sunset was beautiful. My nails came out perfect. You know, I held the door open for somebody and it made them happy. It takes me out of my negativity, right? It takes me out of what I had been looking at all day and allows me to look at, remember, today, there are going to be 1,000 things that happen that I can look at and say that they sucked, or 1,000 things that happen that I could look at and say, thank you, God, like, thank you, universe. You know, there have been so many amazing things that happened. That's up to me. I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to challenge you again. We're going to challenge you to do 3 things you're grateful for every single morning when you wake up, and 3 things you're grateful for some other time in the day, but by the time that you go to bed, and your strength both times. Okay? And that's my challenge for you. Start doing a little teeny tiny bit that will help you to change your perspective.
So we do the gratitude list on Facebook on Downsizing
Yes,
Weight Loss.
we do.
And if anyone looks, our members, you'll see our gratitude list there. If you don't want to do it on Facebook, you can always do it on our website, so whyweight.net, and just message us and put it in and get it done. And why do we do this?
We do it because we're awesome. We do it because it helps to change our perspective. It helps to keep us happy. Gratitude begets gratitude, you guys.
And also, as an addict, I live in a very small space, which is just above my schneck, and it's inside my head.
Schneck.
My
That's
schneck.
like a new part of the body that you only learn in anatomy and physiology in school, the schneck.
The schneck. That's where my addiction wants to keep me sick, is in my head, in my schneck, okay? So it helps me get out of my head, and it changes my perspective. It helps me shift that perspective. And my addiction fights me every step of the way because it wants me miserable and it wants me suffering. And anything that I'm going to do to start getting healthy in the beginning, it really fights against me to stop me doing it.
You know, guys, sometimes we don't do what we kind of know is going to help us get better because getting better looks too scary. Because getting better means, okay, well, now I'm starting to get better. So what excuse do I have to binge and purge? What excuse do I have? What happens when I'm not feeling well and when my mother-in-law is being a crazy mean person? What do I do? What do I do then? How do I get along without this addiction? So remember, we talk about just about every week about how living with our addiction is really scary, but usually not as scary as the thought of living without it, because then we don't know what to do. And so that's why in recovery we're learning to change our thinking, right? Looking at the way that we feel, changing our thinking, changing our perspective so that we could change our actions. We learn to reach out to others because that doesn't make us weak, that makes us strong, right? We learn to say how we feel. We learn that asking for help it is an amazing thing. And when you ask me for help, a lot of times not only am I helping you, but you're helping me because you're getting me out of my head, right? And so those are some of the couple little tools that we'll use in recovery.
So in the beginning, when I first started stepping into recovery, that honesty part and dealing with emotions was really, really difficult for me because I was everything that I thought other people wanted me to be, that I didn't know who I was in that process. I was a person that I thought you'd like, so I always pretended to be someone else. So it took a little bit of time to actually work out what was me, and who am I, that real honesty with myself, of just being comfortable, and that humility of being able to be comfortable with myself and accept myself with the shortcomings and those challenges that I have. And it's still a work in progress, but it's a very scary place to start because we've been doing things for so long. I did it for 42 years. It took me 42 years to step into the rooms. So that was always the Google. So you always talk about our default.
Yes. And
that
Google
behavior,
is my default.
and Google is our default, and it's something, we didn't become like this overnight. It's something that takes a little bit of time, and the more we practice that muscle, and the more we do our gratitude lists, and the more we reach out when we're struggling, and the more we talk, the easier it actually becomes over time, and things become clearer.
And you do show more willingness because you do show up now, right? You show up to class. You don't look as petrified, right? So you're moving forward. You're smiling. So you're moving forward. It's something I need to let you know. We said this last time, you guys. Addiction sucks. Recovery is hard. It's doable, and it's hard, and it's amazing. Susan, I love you so much. If you're out there, it's my mom, best mom ever. Susan always says transition sucks, but it's awesome when we get to the other side. And that's the way that is. Recovery is just a transition. It's me starting and stuck and scared, right? And angry and fearful and resentful and all of those things. And me learning the tools so that I don't have to be that person, so that I can step into my own greatness, that I can step into the sunlight of the spirit, right? As they say, that I can be of service to others, right? That I can be of service to the universe. And so that's what we hope for. And once those things happen, then we become happy people, more honest and happier with ourselves and happier with the universe around us, because we're looking more at what's good as opposed to what's bad, right?
So my take from that as well is no matter what is going on around us, that decision, we have a choice of being happy.
Of course we do.
So we can either let that chaos and all the other stuff impede on it and become the reasons why things aren't working well, or why we're unhappy, or why we're picking up, or whatever those excuses, or how it's impacting our world, so we get stuck and we don't move on, or we have a choice to make it happy.
Yeah. And so that's my hope for you. My hope for you is that it will get, I know that it'll get easier. You just got to stick with it. It's so hard. It's hard
really
and
hard.
So scary. And the thing is that we've all been sitting right there. We really have. And we've all felt the way that you feel. And we've all, if all of us hadn't been stuck and petrified, stuck and scared and absolutely petrified, we wouldn't be addicts.
No one just falls into this room and sticks around. It's not the kind of place that you just pop in and hang out and leave. People come because there's a reason. Something brings them in and something makes them stay. You know, at the end of the day, addiction sucks. It's something that leaves us feeling guilty and ashamed, and we're unhappy and unhealthy, and we know deep down that there's got to be something better. We know deep down that this isn't the way that our lives, that I don't want my life playing out the way that it did for the last 42 years. Not that I'm saying things are terrible in my world. Materially, things are phenomenal, but spiritually, things were broken. I wasn't happy with myself in terms of me, and it's got nothing to do with my husband and thank God my kids and all the other things that are good in my world, but it had to do with me. And I would love to think that the next 52 years, or however many, are happy and healthy years. That's the way I've got the ability to show up if I do the work now and I continue to work.
You know, the spiritual principles behind the first 3 steps, the first step is honesty, and the second step is hope, and the third step is faith. Honesty, when you walk into this room, whether you talk or not, or however you're feeling, you're being honest with yourself, right? You're letting yourself know that you have a challenge and that you want to get better, right? And you stay for a little while and you get that hope that maybe I can get better. And after that, you have some faith because you see others get well, that it's doable. And that you're going to let go of some of the stuff that you're holding on to because you know out there's a better way for you to live, and that there is a way for you to live happy. Okay? And that happens, man. That's the beginning of the magic.
And it took so much courage to be here.
Sure it does.
It's really brave.
Thank you for being here. Allie, my Allie, how are you?
Tired.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else besides tired before you? So poor Allie. So when we talked the other day at the meeting, we had talked about reaching out, right, to a sponsor, and I had said, you know, before you're having a challenge and you overate that day, right? And we talked about you reaching out. You said that I did reach out, that I reached out. You said something beautiful or eloquent or whatever, but you didn't reach out and say, right now, I'm letting you know that I'm reaching out because I'm going to use, right? Why is it that we don't do that? And I think that's a super important thing to talk about. Why do you think it is that it's easier to reach out and say, well, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and all that flowery stuff, instead of saying, hey, Ange, you know what? I'm going to use right now.
Because you want to, sorry.
Go ahead.
Because she wants to use, and I'm going to stop. Well, I'm not going to physically stop her, but I'm going to set that in her mind that that's not the best idea.
Yeah, and so that's part of it. Definitely is, and I think that's the second part of it. The first part of it is, are you being honest with you? Am I being honest with myself when I go through that whole thing where I know that I'm going to use and I'm not going to reach out to somebody else? Why? Because I don't have to, or it's not important, or...
I mean, for me, I think I just feel I'm embarrassed about it. It's a shameful thing to, like, want to overindulge when I paid for the surgery that I had. You know what I mean? It's a lot of other strings attached to.
Okay, and I'm so glad you said that. So I'm going to ask you something. So you think it's shameful, right? Yeah. You paid all that money for the... 9 years ago, I lived in a treatment center for 6 months. And I reported myself to PRN, and I typed into a computer for 5 years, and I had a sponsor, and I had sponsees, and I was working on my recovery, right? And then for the next 2 years, I wasn't working on my recovery. I was working on my life and how I looked on the outside. And I was walking around in some fear, and I relapsed, right? Mm-hmm. Are you ashamed of me?
No.
Why? I had 7 years clean, and I picked up because I couldn't reach out. Why aren't you ashamed of me?
I mean, I see you as someone who is a very strong person who has a lot of perspective that I would, you know what I mean? It's just...
What makes us different? Why would you be ashamed of you and not be ashamed of me? Am I better than you? No. Am I smarter than you? No. Am I kinder than you? No. Am I more worldly than you? No. am I different than you, or am I just an addict who's doing her best to do her best? Right? You see me like that?
Yeah.
How about if you see yourself as an addict who's doing her best to do her best? And when you want to use, because if you ask the people that know me in this room, how many times have I said I want to use? Right? Right?
Yeah.
You know, I went through a breakup, right? I broke up with Joe, and I went to see my therapist that day. 7-year relationship, but I went to see my therapist that day, and I told my therapist, I want to use more right now than I want my left arm. Like, if I could give up my left arm so that I could use and not get caught on a P test, that's what I feel right now. Does that make me shameful? Or does it make me some chick who's doing her best to stay in recovery? Yeah, can you treat yourself with the same love and kindness as you treat me?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have to say something.
Somebody say something.
Yeah, I'm going to say something. Because I was talking to a friend, there's two things going through my mind, and I'm so pleased that you actually said this. One is, I sometimes struggle with reaching out to talk to someone, and I have relapsed in the past. I don't believe that relapse has to happen.
Neither do I.
I really believe that relapse happens when we don't work a program, or when we don't have tools to be able to rely on and use those tools to be able to keep us out of that. But I never thought that I was worthy. I never thought that I was that important or worth picking up the phone or calling someone to say I'm really struggling. And I would, if I saw someone standing on the edge of a building about to jump off, I would go do something and I would say something. Whereas with myself, when I start getting into these places that are so depressing and so dark, and start beating myself up that I feel worthless and useless, and start heading into that area, I have struggled in the beginning to actually pick up the phone or to say something or to text someone and say, listen, I need help and this is my SOS, because I really didn't think that I was worth it. I thought I was less than, whereas if anyone would have texted me, I'd be the first person to actually say, I'd respond straight away. I mean, people who do, I respond straight away, because I treat them and I hold them in a higher esteem than how I treated myself.
And it's that shame that you talk about. You know, I took prescription meds from a doctor. I knew after 3 days I was effed. I knew it because I'm an opiate addict and I was taking opiates scripted. And when we talk about shame, it's that shame that didn't let me reach out after 3 days to somebody and say, you know what, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Because how could I be in trouble? What would that make me look like? I mean, I'm a great doctor and I'm a great friend and I'm a great this and I'm opening up a this and I'm doing this and look at me, I'm so great, I'm doing so great on the outside. And on the inside, I'm fearful, and opportunity meets Percocet and fear meets Percocet, and I take them for pain. Although what pain was I taking them for? Because I think the pain that I was taking them for was more the fear that I had inside of me than the pain that I had in my mouth. And had I not been ashamed, had I been able to look at myself and say, Ruh-roh, you know what? You're an addict, and right now you're in addict mode. You've been on meds for a couple of days. You better reach out to somebody so somebody could take the meds away. Before I was off to the races, which I was off to the races for 8 months, right? And that 8 months put me back into treatment, calling PRN again, being in a 5-year contract, going so backwards so that I could step back forward. But if I wasn't ashamed, I could have asked any one of a zillion people to help me, and they would have done it gladly. And they would have thought, wow, it's so awesome, Felicia's asking for help, let's help her. As opposed to the road that I went down. The shame kills us. It kills us. Shame keeps us fearful and alone and scared and lonely and using, right? We're just some people doing our best to do our best. We're never going to be the best person in the room, and we're never going to be the worst person in the room. Right now, we're just people that are doing our best to do our best to stay in recovery.
It's the same way as an addict. I'm never going to be that normal person. Even though I can think and tell myself that I'm going to be normal if I abstain from eating certain foods after a certain period of time, and long enough I can actually go and have them. if I stay off certain drugs, I can go back to them after a certain period of time.
I can't. I can't.
Okay.
Man.
So that addict brain isn't something that all of a sudden we graduate because we work through the steps and 2 years clean mean that you're clean forever, or 5 years clean, or 7 years clean, or 20 years clean, or 23 years clean mean that you're clean forever. This is something that's an ongoing thing. It's a process that we go through, and that's why I keep saying we need a toolbox. You need to be able to have things that help us stay clean, because if I leave things up to my ego and my brain and do things the way that I always thought it needed to be done, I'm binging, I'm purging, I'm drugging, I'm doing all the things that I did before, because that's Hades' way. But for me to be able to stay in recovery means I have to stand up and start utilizing those tools, as uncomfortable as it is. And in the beginning, it is so uncomfortable, firstly, to even talk in a meeting, to even express myself, or even know what those feelings are or those emotions are. But to actually start talking, I think that was the most uncomfortable thing for me. For us to be able to do what we're doing, do you know how long it took us debating actually live streaming and putting this out there, because it was so uncomfortable to talk not only amongst ourselves, but to put this message out there. Addiction is horrific.
And I'm going to say something. I could stand up in front of 1,000 doctors right now, lecture on type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and feel amazing and not even a little twinge. When I have to, somebody asked me to do the chips a couple of months ago in a meeting, and I was shaking. Like, when I stand up in front of a bunch of addicts, those people know who I am, man. They know who I am. They know if I'm sick. They know if I'm scared. They know me not as this person who's just out there and confident, and I'm not going to say full of shit, because I'm educated, so I can do that, so the educated ego part of me looks great. But when I'm talking with people and I'm just talking from my heart in front of strangers, I'm petrified. Angela's like, "Are you shaking?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was, man. I was shaking." Like, I hate to tell my story out there when I'm in a it's safe here for some reason, I guess, because we're in front of our telephones, but it's scary for me.
You know, the beauty of being in this community is I'm that compulsive neurotic. So a couple of days ago, when I'm thinking that I've got leukemia and cancer, and that is a great, perfect excuse for me to start smoking dope, okay, when I tell people in this room, they get it and they understand. So if I'm going, do you know what? If I've got leukemia and cancer, I can actually go get all the pizza I've ever wanted, okay, and I can have the biggest binge party, because you know what? I'm going to die tomorrow. I mean,
you know, the first thing I thought was, like, in the pot, is she also going to take the opiates? Like, that's the first thing that I thought.
Yeah, exactly. So I can say crap like this in front of us, and I know, because I've got the craziest brain that all of a sudden goes, I'm having a perfect day, let me go kill myself.
Yeah.
Okay, then all of a sudden these crazy thoughts are creeping in. But I can say that in front of my community, because we are addicts and we have crazy thoughts.
Yeah, we do. And we're accepting of each other's crazy, you guys. So remember, don't let that shame keep you imprisoned, because it's going to keep us sick and it won't allow us to step into recovery. Anjali, did you have something you needed to say?
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention, so I don't know if Allison said this or not, but I just wanted to say for her that she did reach out yesterday to me.
Awesome.
And yeah, I thought that was good for her, because it was the first time you reached out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you engaged in overeating.
No, I didn't.
So yeah.
And how'd you feel after you reached out?
Good.
And and I always say this to Angela, and did the earth open up, and did somebody fall through?
It did not.
No lightning bolts, no nothing. You just said however it was that you felt, and it was okay.
And you didn't pick up.
Right.
You know.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, go ahead.
Well, that's really good. But I was gonna say, what exactly changes? I mean, I know you become in recovery, but what exactly changes from the start, where you have these intense thoughts and you act on them, to the point where maybe down the line you have those intense thoughts but you don't act on them? Is that a willpower thing? Is that a stronger, like,
no,
what?
baby, it's not about willpower. It's about understanding how we're feeling and changing our perspective. It's got nothing to do with willpower. I think we all have a lot of willpower, right? If we want to go run the New York Marathon, we'll go practice and go run the New York Marathon. If we want to pass our boards, we're going to study and pass our boards.
If you want to be an addict, you have to have willpower.
That's true too.
There's strength in that.
Yeah, they're actually, and that's very true. Right, that's very true. Right, so willpower can be good or bad. If it was up to willpower, then the first time that you dieted, you would have gotten it. We're not big, fat, lazy, stupid people who don't know any better. We're addicts. Our brains work differently. So as far as picking up or changing our brain chemistry, that's our brain on autopilot. What we need to do is go back before that. Remember that it isn't about the binging and purging. It's about why.
Exactly.
Why do I feel less than? Why do I feel unlovable? Why can't I say, hey, you know what? I feel less than, I feel unimportant. I feel like you don't care about me. Why can't we just say that stuff so we could work through it? You know, you say somebody does this and I get scared. Somebody tells you that you don't know how to raise your daughter and you feel less than. You feel unlovable. You feel like you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're not this enough, that you're not, all of that you take on yourself, right? It's learning how to change that. Again, and saying, wow, that person was mean, as opposed to, wow, I'm not good enough. That's the stuff that starts to change so that we understand ourselves, so that we don't actually pick up. Because the picking up is way after we're already using it in our head, right? It's way after our thoughts that are in our head.
So I know, unfortunately, we have to start wrapping up.
Oh, we have 8 more minutes.
Oh, cool.
My watch is always 5 minutes fast.
So one of the things that I learned, I don't need to wrap up so quickly, is thoughts are not facts.
Feelings are not facts.
Okay, well, my thoughts are not always facts, because my thoughts used to compel. They're not factual. They used to compel me into action. So I'd have these thoughts of, I have to have whatever, McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever the story is, and I'd be off and running, and I have to eat because I haven't eaten all day, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm grabbing whatever there is at the checkout counter. Or I tell myself all these different thoughts that I think really I have to act on. So it's also like turning around and saying the first thoughts that I actually think, or the first thinking that I do, isn't always real thoughts, and I try and dismiss them. And it's sometimes a muscle that I've been trying to work on, because I used to be very compulsive. So everything I thought I needed to do. So I'm starting to learn by hanging out with Felice. So when I think of smacking her, I don't actually do it.
Neither does Angela, or I'd be black and blue all the time.
So we do have, I just wanted to start touching on.
Face at me.
So we have 2 meetings a week, just to touch on where we're at. We have a meeting on Sundays at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Central Time. Unfortunately, Eastern Standard Time. I am a foreigner. I have. So the best way to join us is via Zoom. In fact, our ladies have been very quiet up on Zoom tonight.
Because we didn't let them talk.
But the best way is actually really just jump into the conversation. We can't always reach all the questions out on Facebook, but we will get to answer them a bit later if we haven't addressed them now. There are a couple of things that we do have to do, though. For us to start the process of recovery, we have to abstain. We have to not pick up. It all starts with not picking up, so we can start thinking clearly. Addiction is a disease. We have a reaction to the stuff that we put into our body that accelerates the things that we do, or the reasons why we do things, and affects our thinking. And also physically, it affects us physically. We get cravings. We do certain things that we normally wouldn't do if they're not in us.
I just want to say something. I remember one of the funniest things I ever heard in a room of AA was this guy say, because you know how they call it an allergy, right? And this guy's like, yeah, I'm allergic to alcohol. Every time I drink, I break out in handcuffs. I thought that was like really cute, and just reminded me of that. So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Yeah, it's like, I'm allergic to chocolate cake. I break out of my clothes.
Yeah, exactly. Something.
Yeah. So the other thing is, we have as a food addict, we do have food plans, because I can't tell what a portion is. I mean, I just really can eat and eat and eat until I'm really uncomfortable, until I have to purge. So for me, I do have to weigh my food. I do have a food plan. Even though people give me food plans, I know what my trigger foods are, and no matter if you tell me I can eat it, I know what I can't eat. So common sense also rules.
Absolutely.
So the big thing is, for most of us, it's the starches, no matter how those look. They starch.
It's always going to be the starch.
It's the starch.
Always going to be starches and sweets. That's physiologically correct.
If we're incapable of coming up with our own food plan, speak to a nutritionist, someone who has worked with food addiction before, so they do understand trigger foods, or someone who's more knowledgeable, and come up with your own. We don't give food plans. We don't sell supplements. It's not what we do. We are not a diet group. It's not our goal here. We are not about the weight. We're really about the feelings.
Right. It's not about the food, you guys. It's about what keeps us addicted. And the food is just the stuff that we use because of our thinking.
Have someone that you can reach out to. We have our downsizing weight loss. Be of service to someone else who is struggling. Share our meeting information. Invite them to a meeting. Share your feelings. Reach out to someone when you're struggling. Do that via text. Do that on Facebook. Do that via our website. However that looks, make sure that you're communicating, because when we stop communicating and we stop talking, that's where we start going down that downhill slide and we start getting into our heads, and that's when.
And remember too, when we are sharing, you guys, there's something that we're going to say at some point that somebody else relates to, and maybe that's going to help them, you know, out of their prison for the day, right? Reach out to somebody else also. And you guys, when you're so in your head, Sarah, when you're so in your head and there's so much going on, pick up the phone or send a text and ask somebody else how they are today. What's going on with you today? Get out of here and step into the community a little bit, right? Because when you're caring about somebody else, you're not having all those crazy thoughts yourself. So that's kind of a simple thing to do. And do your gratitude list and be willing, because I know that you want it, but you got to take that first step. Okay?
Step into meetings. Meetings and being around other addicts. Addiction and recovery from addiction happens on a heart-to-heart level.
You came to an AA meeting the other day with us. It was so nice to see you there.
Yeah, it was great to be there.
Yeah.
So addiction is addiction. If it's got an A in it and it's a step program,
it's all
I've
good.
been to, if I need a meeting, I step into a meeting. I call in, I look for one online, I go to a physical meeting, I read some literature. Whatever it is that's going to get me out of the funk of my head, I will step into it and do something differently. It doesn't take away the work that we need to do, but it definitely helps shift our perspective for that amount of time, whatever it looks like.
And I just want to say one more time, even though we say it all the time, addiction sucks.
Yes, it does.
Recovery is hard. If it wasn't hard, everybody would be doing it. You know, they say about addicts in the big book, you know, that we hope that we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. What's really the truth is that the easier, softer way is recovery. Because no matter how difficult a day we're having or how hard it seems to do a gratitude list, it's so much better than being stuck in our active addiction. No matter what, today looks a whole lot better, no matter what happens today, than the last day that I used did. And that's always going to be the truth. So please remember that, okay? 1 minute.
So we look forward to seeing you on Sunday. If you've got anything you would like to talk about on Sunday, start messaging us, post it up on Facebook. We would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, if you have any questions, especially that we can answer, please go ahead and put it on Downsizing Weight Loss or on Why Wait for Recovery. And
I'd also, we'd love to hear your clean time. If you want to share how long you've been clean for, let's start inspiring each other by our clean time.
Right. And I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And this was our Why Wait for Recovery Wacky Wednesday recovery meeting. And I am so blessed and grateful for every one of you, because every one of you helps me to stay clean. Thank you so much.
I am humble and just really grateful for all of you and your courage and just how you step up and your bravery. I just find it awesome. It inspires me to work harder on me.
So thank you for that,
and
you guys.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Really, and have a beautiful week, and we'll see you Sunday at
Feliz.
9 a.m. I'm Hades.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Hello? Gotta do that one.